This is your study guide for Unit 1. It's the exact same thing we did in our game when we played our game. So I'm just going to go through and walk you through each question. So number 1, when you put that in your calculator, you need to put it in exactly as you see it. So you would put 4 times 6 minus, parenthesis, 4 times 4 minus, parenthesis, 5 plus 4, parenthesis, parenthesis. When you type that in your calculator correctly, you get the answer 17. The next one you put in the calculator just like you see it, 5 plus 4 minus 3 plus 2 minus, now you have to hit alpha y equals to make a fraction, and then just put 4 over 4 as a fraction. Type it in your calculator, your answer should be 7. Number 3, you need to start with the alpha y equals so that you have a fraction when you start. And then you just do 15 times 2, 6 minus, you have to hit the down arrow to get it to go to the bottom of the fraction, 6 minus, parenthesis 6 minus, parenthesis 4 plus 1, parenthesis, parenthesis. When you put that in your calculator, you should get the answer 6. For number 4, we just type what we see, 2 plus 5 plus 4 minus. You do a parenthesis, and then you have to do the alpha y equals to make it a fraction. You'll do a 12, hit the down arrow and do a 3. Then you'll hit over, plus 3, and close the parentheses. When you do that one, your answer should be 4. Number 5, to get these absolute value bars, the first thing you need to do is alpha y equals, you hit the over arrow and hit enter, and the bars will show up. Then you just say 3 minus 9. When you do that, you will get a 6. The same is true here, but first we have to type negative 6, and then you do the alpha y equals over enter, 5 minus 10, and when you, that's a minus sign, not a negative, minus, and when you do that, you should get a negative 30 for your answer. All right, number 7 asks, how many terms are in the expression? Terms means groups. So I've got one group here, one group here, and one group here. That means I have 3 terms. Number 8 asks, what are the variables in the expression? Well, another word for variable are letters. So I've got an x squared, a y, and a y squared. X squared, y, y squared. I have to list them all. Number 9, what are the coefficients in the expression? A coefficient is the number before the variable. So right here, in this first one, we have this 6, but it says minus 6, which I know I can say plus negative to remind me that's a negative 6. And then we have 3x squared, so my other coefficient is that 3. So your answer has to be negative 6, 3. 10 is asking for a constant. The constant is just the plain old number. 42 is the only plain old number because the negative 9 is attached to the x, and x cubed, and 6 attached to the y. All right, flip over to the back side for me. All right, in this section, we're going to substitute these numbers for the letters in this problem. So here's our problem. So I'm going to go and erase my P, and instead of a P, I write a parenthesis 3, because that's what it tells me to do right there. I'm going to erase my Q. All I erase is the Q, not the minus, not anything else, and I put parentheses 1. When you type it in your calculator, parenthesis 3, parenthesis, minus parenthesis 2, minus parenthesis 1, parenthesis, parenthesis. Lots of parentheses. That's okay, though. And your answer will be 2. On number 12, I'm going to put these guys in parentheses. I'm going to say Q squared P. Now, instead of the Q, I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to put my 4 in parentheses. Notice that the squared doesn't go into the parentheses. He's not part of that. Instead of the P, I'm going to say parenthesis 3. When you do that in your calculator, you get a 48. Remember, to make that exponent go up, you use the little arrow up button right above division called the caret. All right, same with 13. I'm going to put these guys in parentheses to start with. Now I'm going to copy my problem. All right, the first thing I'm going to get rid of is this y, and instead of that y, I'm going to make it a 5. Now I'm going to erase this x right here, and instead of the x, I'm going to put a parenthesis 2. And I'm going to erase this y, and I'm going to put another parenthesis 5. So when you type this in your calculator, 5 squared, well, parenthesis 5, parenthesis squared, minus parenthesis 2, parenthesis, parenthesis, I got to hit that alpha y equals to make a fraction, 4 over 4, plus parenthesis 5, parenthesis, parenthesis. That word's hard to say over and over. All right, let's look at this one. I'm going to start by getting my parentheses in place. M plus N minus 2 plus P M minus M. So I got an M here. I'm going to make that a parenthesis 2. I'm going to go over here to this M and make it a parenthesis 2. I'm going to do the same thing for this M at the end. All right, for the N, I'm going to erase it and put a parenthesis 4. And for the P, I'm going to erase it and put a parenthesis 2. When you type this in your calculator exactly like this, you get the answer 6. All right, this will be the last section on your test. This is when we're going to combine like terms. So let's look. I've got a 2n. Who has the same last name as the 2n? Actually, before we even start, let's say this is a plus negative. Anyway, so who has the same exact last name as the 2n? Well, the negative 11n. 2 plus negative 11 gives me a negative 9n. Now I have left, I have a 7 plus 1. 7 plus 1 is a positive 8. Negative 9n plus 8. I'm going to do the same thing right here. And look at my first number is an 8. The other part in here that's the same is the 1. 8 plus 1. Well, that's 9. And then I've got 4x plus 3x. 4 plus 3 is a positive 7x. In number 17, I'm going to make this a plus negative, and I'm going to put a 1 in front of that k. So the 2k matches with the 1k. 2 plus 1 is 3k. The negative 1 matches with a 7. Negative 1 plus 7 is a positive 6. Last one, 18. I'm going to make this a plus negative 1x. That looks terrible. Just trust me. Ugh. Plus negative 1x. So the like terms in here, they're both the same. I got an x and an x. 5 plus negative 1 is a 4, and we just put our variable on the end, 4x. All right, please study.